Welcome to the Today in History channel. In today's video we will talk about the day, April 25, 1974, Carnation Revolution. On April 25, 1974, at 0 hours and 25 minutes, the Portuguese radio station Rádio Renascença broadcast the song Grândola, Vila Morena, by the composer José Afonso. It was the signal agreed by some army officers the Armed Forces Movement, MFA, to occupy the country's strategic points. Just 6 hours later, the dictatorial regime of Antonio de Oliveira Salazar was overthrown. The survey of the left-wing sector of the army, the so-called Captains of April, against a dictatorship that had been in power for 48 years, was the product of an unsustainable situation, aggravated by the repudiation of a policy anchored in a colonial war with no way out in Angola, Guinea-Bissau and Mozambique. Portugal remained attached to the maintenance of an unlikely colonial empire that cost more and more victims and resources. The population was increasingly impoverished. The social inequality was enormous. Only 100 families had economic power. Furthermore, landowning in the countryside was a scandal, coupled with the fact that Portugal was a haven for ex-Nazis and dictators, while the chains were filled with political prisoners. In an isolated country for many years, the words democratize, decolonize and develop became the motto and program that guided the revolution. So on the day of the military uprising, citizens soon sympathized with the military rebels and took to the streets. The Carnation Revolution takes its name from one of those spontaneous concentrations of citizens who, in Lisbon, carried carnations, the flower of the season. Previously, some soldiers had asked for carnations at a flower stall in the street, and placed them in the barrels of their rifles, as a sign that they did not want to fire their weapons. It was not a simple military coup, but a revolution. Portugal maintained a colonial territory 22 times larger than its own, with a population of more than 14 million inhabitants. To control it, it had 120,000 soldiers, and the youth had to spend 2 of the 4 years of military service in the colonies. As a result, almost all families had a family member in the first line of fire, which, coupled with the memory of the shattering American failure in Vietnam, and the terrible balance of deaths and injuries 15,000 and 30,000, respectively led to absolute rejection of maintaining the empire. More than 107,000 young people had fled the country to avoid joining the army. After the success of the revolution, political prisoners were released and opposition leaders were able to return from exile. The following year, constituent elections were called, and a parliamentary democracy was established. That same year, the independence of the colonies was guaranteed, and the nationalization of large companies and banks was carried out. In the Alentejo region, the large estates were taken over by the peasants, while in the cities, the workers introduced elements of control in the companies. Did you like the video? In the description you will find the blog link with the full article. Give an incentive by subscribing to the channel, liking, commenting and sharing with your friends. Hugs. Until the next.